Okay, let's take a look at this one. Looks a little uglier, doesn't it, than what we've done before, but let's see if it's one of those perfect square things. All right, first of all, is something being squared to give you this? Yeah, 4p, right? Is something being squared to give you this? Yes. Let's check the middle term. How do we check the middle term? If we take, oh, you know what? We got a little bit more. Let's do this, okay? We can't look at it exactly like we said before, but let's do this. I want to write this, so we already said what's being squared to give you this. So watch, I'm going to write this like that, okay? What would go in here? What's being squared to give you 16p squared? 4p. Would you agree with that? Okay. Minus, remember how we had that 2xy on that other one? I want to figure out what's going to go there. I'm going to leave that blank just for right now. Okay, let's put a plus over here. What's being squared to give you this? What's being squared to give you that? 5q, correct? Okay. Now look. Remember how the other equation, what was it? It was x squared plus 2xy plus y squared, correct? So this 4p is kind of like your x. Do you see it? This 5q is kind of like your y. So what's that middle going to be then? Now, you got to, whatever this sign is, you put this right here. Okay, I know there's a plus here, but we put this sign here. But what do we put? We put a 2, and we put whatever the x is, and we put whatever the y is. What do we put in for the x? 4p. And what do we put in for the y? 5q. Right? Do you see that? Now, is this a perfect square? Does it fit this pattern right here to be a perfect square? It absolutely does. Look. That's my x, that's being squared, that's my y, that's being squared, there's my 2, my x, and my y. Is it now a perfect square? Yeah, it is. Alright? I mean, it was up here, but now we recognize that it is a perfect square right here. So how can we factor it? The problem says to factor it. So what do I want to do? I want to actually just put it like this. What was equal to this? Do you remember? X plus y squared was equal to this, wasn't it? So look, what's my x over here? 4p. So I just put a 4p right there. Now we always take this sign right here. What do you put inside here now? Minus. And then what's the y? The 5q. You stick that right there, and now it's factored. Okay? So you went by this, didn't you? You looked at this thing right here and you said, okay, x plus y squared, that's a perfect square. I mean, that represents any numbers at all, doesn't it? So what should it look like? It should look like this squared and then this squared on the end, right? And then it should be these two multiplied together times 2. Is that our situation here? Yeah, because look, 4p is being squared, 5q is being squared, and is it minus 2 times 4p times 5q? Absolutely it is, isn't it? That's minus 40. Would you agree? Because 4 times 5 is 20, times 2 is 40. So it does work, doesn't it? All right, so this right here is kind of like our little template. This is the thing that we want to get this to look like, and that's what we did. Why did I turn it into that? Because I wanted it to look like x squared. Why did I turn that into this? Because I wanted it to look like y squared. Do you see why I put a 2 here? Because there's a 2 here. That should be x, that should be y. If they all multiply to be the middle, then it's a perfect square. Let's do another one. Alright, look at this crazy one. We want to factor this ugly looking thing right here. Alright, well, first thing we do, it kind of looks like it might be a perfect square because I got something squared here, something squared here. I just got to make sure my middle works out the way it should be. Now, what's my pattern? My pattern is this. Can you remember this? Yeah, plus y squared. So what we want to do is we want to make it look like this. So I want a parentheses squared, right? There's a plus right here, so I can put a plus here. And then I want a 2, and then I want whatever x is, whatever y is, goes here, and then what? Plus this thing squared. So I want to put stuff in here and see what we get. So what's being squared to give you this thing right here? Do you know 169? It's 13, yep. So it's 13. So it's 13 what? 13x. So that goes in the first one. Come over here to the last one. What's being squared to give you this thing? Good, 4y squared. Now, Now I know my x. Now I know my y, right? So let's put it into here. So what's going to go in here? 13x, and what's going to go right here? 4y squared. Now let's see if it multiplies to become this. 2 times 13 is what? 26 times 4. Well, what's 26 times 2 in your head? 52, right? And then double that. What's double 52? 104, isn't it? Right? So you can kind of do that in your head, can't you? But if you had a calculator, you can punch it in. So does this work? Do these numbers work? Yeah. So is it, the whole reason that we wanted to put it in this pattern is just to make sure that it was a perfect square. Because this could have been some crazy number that doesn't even work here. Do you see that? And if it was some crazy number that doesn't work, then you wouldn't be able to factor it. Not by perfect square anyway. So look at this. Is this a perfect square? Absolutely. It fits this pattern nice and pretty. And now we can actually factor it. So now all we got to do is 1 parentheses is squared. What goes right here? Yep, 13x goes right. This goes right here, and then there's a plus. Always use that sign. And then what goes in here? 4y squared. And now it's factored. There it is. So you're just going by this pattern, aren't you? If you can follow this pattern, you should be able to do these just fine. Does that make any sense to you at all? Okay, good. All right, well, we don't have time to do the next thing. Now, earlier we did difference of 2 squares, right? Tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to do the difference of 2 cubes. And remember I said there was no sum of 2 squares, but there is a sum of 2 cubes. All right, so we're going to do difference and sum of 2 cubes tomorrow, and one other thing too, okay? But that's good enough for now. So you only have to do half the worksheet. You only have to do 1 through 8. Okay, so 1 through 8. It's section 1.4b, and you only have to do 1 through 8. That's all we covered today. Okay?